If you're anything like I once was, you've heard about how you can use credit cards to travel for free, but as you started looking into it, you realized there were tons of options and it was hard to filter through all of the noise. However, now a couple of years in and 500,000 points later, I want to help you figure out how to start by giving you the information I wish I knew back then. So in this video, I want to lay out the first 5 credit cards that you should get, as well as the order you should get them in if you're trying to optimize for maximum value. If you're new here, my name is Mitchell, and my goal is to help as many people with their personal finances as possible, including using credit cards to allow you to do the things you want to do. So diving in, let's lay out some ground rules. As everybody's credit and credit card situation can differ, I'm going to lay these out with some underlying assumptions. 1, I'm assuming that you have no credit history whatsoever. 2, you aren't able to be added as an authorized user to somebody else's card. 3, you have an income. It doesn't have to be a lot, but generally it is needed to start. 4, you don't have any particular banking history with certain lenders. And 5, you are trying to optimize for points and miles to be redeemed for travel rather than cash back. And 6, these won't necessarily be the only 5 credit cards you get, although they could be, but it allows you to branch out and continue on afterwards. Using these assumptions allows this video to be best fit for the most amount of people and can be used by anybody who is sitting where I once was. The toughest place to be is right at the beginning because you don't have all the options available to people who have credit history because most cards require some evidence that you are reliable as a borrower. However, there are some really solid starter card options that allow you to earn rewards while building your credit towards those other cards. And this comes in the form of a good student card if you're a student, or if you're not, a secured credit card. My recommendation here is going to be the Discover It Student Chrome card or the Discover It Secured card. Student Chrome is a great card for a couple of reasons. 1, you don't need to have a credit history to get it, meaning that it's a true beginner credit card. And in fact, this was my first credit card that I got to help me build my credit. And 2, you earn rewards while building your credit because the card earns 2% back on purchases at gas stations and restaurants and 1% back on everything else. This is great because some cards might not offer rewards to beginners, whereas this option does. And then the best bit about this card is that it comes with a sort of welcome offer, which is that Discover will match dollar for dollar all the cash back you earn during your first year. Meaning if you earned $100 of cash back, they would deposit another $100 in your cash back balance come your first card anniversary, which is awesome because it essentially means in that first year, you'll be earning 4% back at gas station and restaurants and 2% back on all other purchases. Now, if you don't qualify for a student card, you can opt for the secured version of this card, which is the Discover It Secured credit card. The way this and any secured credit card works is that you put a deposit in of, let's say, $1,000, and you'll get a credit limit equal to the deposit amount of $1,000. Then, as long as you pay off your card on time and in full every month, you don't have to worry about losing your deposit. Your deposit will only be touched if you fail to pay the bank back. Then, eventually, after building up your credit for a while and proving you have good credit habits, you can product change this to one of Discover's other credit cards. The nice part about Discover's secured card, in particular, is that you still earn rewards despite it being a secured card. The earning structure is set up the exact same way as the Student Chrome, where you earn 2% on gas and restaurants and 1% back on everything else, and you get an unlimited cashback match at the end of year 1. Overall, these are the best place to start in my opinion, and if you want to check these cards out, you can check out the link down in the description along with all the other cards that I will mention in this video. Now, once you've had this first card for a year and you've successfully built up your credit by paying off your balance on time and in full every month, you can start to build your credit card setup towards a rewards earning structure that favors travel over cashback. And you're going to get that by getting card number 2, which is the Chase Freedom Unlimited. This card hits the sweet spot between being relatively easy to get approved for if you have built up a good credit history. It is simple to understand, and it's extremely powerful further down the line, even though it's your second card. So to start off, this card has a great earning structure. It earns 5 points per dollar on purchases made through the Chase Travel Portal, 3x back on dining in drugstores, and 1.5x on all other purchases, all while having a $0 annual fee. And this earning structure is what makes this such a good second card in your setup. There's not much thinking required because at this point, with no other cards, other than the first one, you can pretty much use this card for every purchase and guarantee at least 1.5 points per dollar. And even once you add the next couple of cards that we'll talk about in this video, you will still find this 1.5x earning structure helpful because this will act as your catch-all card in your credit card setup. Meaning that if no other card has an elevated earning category for your purchase, you will use this one. On top of just earning with this card, it's also the first card you will get that has a sign-up bonus met through your minimum spend requirement. Meaning this card offers $200 earned as 20,000 Chase Ultimate Rewards points after spending $500 in the first 3 months. And here's where there's a little bit of nuance. Even though this card is marketed as earning cash back, those rewards are actually earning Chase Ultimate Rewards points, and if you want to, you can redeem those points for cash back at a rate of 1 cent per point, or 20,000 points equals $200. However, and this is important, when you eventually pair this card with some cards I will talk about later, those same points become significantly more valuable when used to book travel. So use this card to earn points and build up your Ultimate Rewards balance so that you can use them later on with that other card. There is another big reason why this card comes second, and that's because of something called Chase's 524 rule. See, Chase is known for being stricter than other banks for people trying to get a lot of credit cards to maximize points and miles. Because if you've opened 5 or more cards in the last 24 months, then you likely will get rejected when applying for a Chase credit card. And because of this rule, and the fact that Chase points are quite valuable, which I will talk about why a bit later, I think you should start getting Chase cards as soon as possible if you're really trying to optimize points and miles in the long term. And this goes back to my point earlier, where I said that this is a setup built for people who likely will continue on in the credit card points and miles game. Because if you wanted just the most simple setup, that doesn't necessarily maximize points by getting lots of credit cards, then there might be better card options out there. But because we are trying to build the optimal credit card setup for points, we're going to start with Chase early on. And for that same reason, we're going to keep building our Chase setup to earn Chase points with our next card, which is the Chase Freedom Flex. And I would apply for this card roughly 3+ months after the previous one, just to give yourself the highest odds at approval, as well as to space out the sign-up bonuses. Now, the Freedom Flex is the Freedom Unlimited's brother, and they do have a lot of similarities. Just like the Freedom Unlimited, there's a $200 or 20,000 point welcome bonus after spending $500 in the first 3 months. Which, if you're tracking, after picking up this bonus, you will have 40,000 Ultimate Rewards points from the sign-up bonus alone. The card also earns in some of the same categories, with 5x back on Chase Travel and 3x on dining and drugstores. So at this point, you might be thinking, well then, why the heck should I even get this card if it's so much is so similar? And the reason being, on top of just stacking the welcome bonuses, is that instead of having the 1.5x back on all purchases, this card earns 5x back on rotating quarterly categories, and 1x on everything else. Every quarter, Chase puts out a list of the elevated categories for the quarter, and I'll throw up on screen now what they are for Q1 2026, as well as what they were for all 4 quarters in 2025, and what you'll notice is there's some variety. For example, right now, one of the elevated categories is dining, where other times in the past it's been gas and EV charging or Amazon purchases. Now, you won't find every category useful, but I think generally you will find some really good categories for your spending habits. For example, I spend a lot on dining, so right now is the perfect time to put that spend on the Chase card and earn at the elevated rate. Which, if you were paying attention, you would have noticed that dining was also a 3x category on the Freedom Flex. But the nice thing is that the quarterly bonus stacks on top of this get 7x back, which is calculated as the 1x back normally, plus the 2x elevated dining category, plus the 4x quarterly category boost. So you can see how just a couple of good categories a year can really stack up, because let's say you spend $500 a month on dining, and for the quarter you spend $1,500 at 7x points. That's 10,500 Ultimate Rewards points for the quarter on dining alone. So at this point in your credit card journey, you will have 3 cards, and here's how you can use them best to optimize for points. The Discover It student credit card will be used infrequently, just every few months or so, to keep the card open. The Freedom Flex will be used for the elevated quarterly categories, and the Freedom Unlimited will be used for everything else. And I think this is a real sweet spot where you can really build up Chase points from just these 2 cards alone to then use later once you get the next card, which is the Chase Sapphire Preferred. Again, I would wait another 3-ish months before applying for this card again, and even potentially longer, and I'll explain why in just a sec. Sapphire Preferred will be your first true step into the world of travel credit cards, and that means a couple of different things. One, it means it will be your first card with an annual fee, which is set at $95, but don't worry because the value you will get from this card can greatly offset this. 2, it means it will come with a much higher sign-up bonus than the previous cards. And 3, that sign-up bonus will come with a much higher minimum spend requirement. So first, that sign-up bonus is a standard 75,000 Chase Ultimate Rewards points after spending $5,000 in the first 3 months. So obviously, this is a lot more points, but also requires a lot more spending. So you should time your application for this card to closely align with any upcoming big purchases you were already planning to make, because you don't want to force yourself to overspend just to hit the minimum spend, because that negates the value you're going to get out of this bonus. So even if you could apply for this card 3 months after your last card, you might want to delay your application, and that's partially because of the large spending requirement, but also because you might want to wait for an elevated welcome offer. See, sometimes Chase and other card issuers will run limited time offers where they offer more points and might change up the spending requirement. So, in the past, we've seen elevated offers on the Sapphire Preferred of 80,000 points or even 100,000 points, which obviously would be a nice boost to your points balance if you could take advantage of one of those offers. And even more reason to time your offer well is that Chase recently changed their application terms where they have now made it one bonus per card per lifetime when it comes to the Sapphire Preferred, meaning you want to get the best offer possible if you can. As for spending multipliers, this card earns 5x back on Chase Travel, 3x points on dining, online groceries, and select streaming services, and 2x points on all other travel, with 1x back on everything else. So again, we have some overlap with the other Chase cards in your setup, but notably, this will become your travel spending card for the time being, as it offers that 2x back on all travel purchases that other cards don't. Another nice benefit is that this card comes with a $50 hotel credit to use in the Chase Travel portal, which can help you to offset the $95 annual fee that we talked about earlier. It also offers various purchase protections and travel protections, including primary rental car coverage and extended manufacturer warranty. Although these are all really nice perks to have, the main reason you will want to add this card to your setup is because holding it allows you to take advantage of all of Chase's point transfer partners, which I will pop up on screen now. So with all of those points you earn on the two Freedom cards, as well as the Sapphire Preferred, you can pool them together and transfer them out to one of these partners. Notable ones include Air France Flying Blue, Air Canada, and Hyatt. Historically, Hyatt has been Chase's strongest transfer partner, but recently they just announced upcoming changes to their award program that honestly are a big devaluation to what they currently offer. These changes are felt the most at their luxury high-end properties, where you could have booked one of their highest category hotels for a maximum of 45,000 points a night, and now with the changes, it could be all the way up to 75,000 points a night. Still, I think there is some value to have with Hyatt, and I think you would still find them a very useful transfer partner, but they are just a bit weaker now, so I just wanted to let you know that. Now, the reason you should be transferring your points out to these transfer partners is because instead of getting just 1 cent per point cash back, your points can be worth a lot more. And typically, most people assign a point value of about 2 cents per point to Chase, meaning that the 75,000 point welcome bonus, that would be worth $750 of cash back, would be worth $1,500 when used to travel. And this is the incredible part about this card, because that effectively covers the cost of holding this card for 15 years, ignoring all the points you will earn and the hotel credit, which makes this, in my opinion, one of the best beginner travel credit cards. So now that you've jumped into the travel credit card space, the next card I would look to pick up is your first premium travel credit card, which is the Capital One Venture X. Again, I would wait another 3-ish months to apply for this card so that you can continue spacing out your applications and keeping your credit profile looking healthy. And on paper, this card might sound intimidating because it comes with a $395 annual fee, but the reason it has become so popular is because for most people, it very realistically pays for itself. This reason for that is that they give you a $300 annual travel credit that you receive when booking through the Capital One travel portal. If you take even one trip per year and book a hotel or flight through their portal, that $300 credit will automatically apply and immediately offset most of the annual fee. On top of that, every single year on your card anniversary, you will receive 10,000 bonus miles, which are worth at least $100 towards travel. So when you combine that with the $300 travel credit, you're already getting $400 of value from a $395 annual fee card, meaning that it essentially pays you for itself before you even consider any of the other perks. And the welcome bonus is also very strong, typically around 75,000 miles after hitting the minimum spend requirement. At a minimum, that's about $750 worth of travel, but if you transfer those miles to travel partners, you can often get even more value out of them, just like with Chase. When it comes to earning points, the Venture X keeps things very simple. It earns 2 miles per dollar on every single purchase, which makes it a fantastic catch-all card for spending that doesn't fall into any bonus category on your other cards. And when booking through the Capital One portal, you can earn even more, usually 5x on flights and 10x on hotels and rental cars. But where this card really starts to shine is the travel benefits. One of the biggest perks is lounge access through Priority Pass, as well as access to the growing network of Capital One lounges, which are quickly becoming some of the nicest airport lounges in the United States. Having lounge access means free food, drinks, comfortable seating, and a quiet place to relax before your flight, which can make a huge difference when you're traveling, even if it's only just a few times per year. You also get a credit for TSA PreCheck or Global Entry every 4 years, which helps you get through airport security and customs much faster. So the way this card fits into your setup is pretty simple. Your Freedom Flex will still be used for rotating quarterly categories, the Sapphire Preferred will unlock all of your Chase transfer partners, and the Venture X becomes your premium travel card that gives you lounge access, premium travel protections, and a simple 2x return on everything else. And although this may make the Freedom Unlimited seem to lose its place in your wallet, I still find it useful because sometimes I prefer to earn 1.5x Chase points over 2x Capital One miles, so it's nice to have that optionality for when you're making the decisions about what type of points you want to earn. And by the time you reach this point, you will have built a really strong foundation of cards that work together to maximize both points and travel benefits, which is exactly how people start earning the hundreds of thousands of points that can eventually turn into free flights and hotels around the world. So with that being said, hopefully you found this video helpful, and ask me any questions down in the comments and let me know if you think I missed a card. That would be great to add. Please consider subscribing and check out this video over here that YouTube thinks you might like as well.